The rain poured down like never before, blurring the world outside the sleek black car. Inside sat Daniel Reed, a successful CEO known for his cold logic and relentless drive. The city lights reflected on his face, empty, tired, and alone. He had money, power, and respect, but not peace. He was driving home from yet another late meeting when something caught his eye, a figure stumbling on the side of the road. He slowed down. It was a young woman, drenched to the bone, holding a small bundle wrapped in a thin blanket. Her eyes were wide with panic. Before he could react, she knocked on his window. "Please, my child is sick," she cried, her voice trembling. "I need to get to the hospital. The buses aren't running." For a moment, Daniel froze. He wasn't used to interruptions, especially not from strangers. But something in her voice cut through the rain and the walls he'd built around himself. He unlocked the door. "Get in," he said quietly. The woman gasped in relief, clutching her shivering child, a little girl, barely 5 years old, her face pale and weak. As Daniel pulled back onto the road, the little girl's tiny hand reached out from the blanket, touching his sleeve. Her faint voice whispered, "Thank you, sir." In that instant, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years: humanity. And he didn't know that this stormy night would change his life forever. The drive to the hospital felt endless. Rain hammered against the windshield, and thunder echoed across the city. Daniel glanced at the rearview mirror. The young woman held her daughter close, whispering words of comfort that broke his heart. "What's her name?" he asked softly. "Lily," the woman replied, brushing wet strands of hair from her child's forehead. "She hasn't eaten properly in 2 days. I lost my job last week, and the shelter turned us away tonight." Her voice cracked, but she tried to smile through it. Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He had spent years chasing profits, closing deals worth millions, yet here sat a mother fighting to keep her child alive, with nothing but faith. As they arrived at the emergency entrance, Daniel jumped out first. "I'll handle it," he told her firmly, and carried the limp little girl inside. Nurses rushed to help as he filled out the forms, signing his name as the emergency sponsor without hesitation. Hours passed. The storm outside calmed, but inside Daniel's chest, something unfamiliar stirred: guilt, maybe, or awakening. When the doctor finally emerged, he said gently, "The girl will be okay. She was severely dehydrated, but she's stable now." Tears rolled down the woman's face. She turned to Daniel and whispered, "I don't know how to thank you. You saved my daughter's life." Daniel smiled faintly. "No," he said quietly. "You saved mine." The woman blinked in confusion. She couldn't have known that, for the first time in years, the lonely CEO felt alive again. The next morning, Daniel sat quietly in the hospital waiting room, a cup of coffee untouched in his hands. Through the glass, he saw the young mother sitting beside her daughter's bed, gently stroking her hair. The little girl, Lily, now smiled faintly in her sleep. When the woman noticed him, she stood, embarrassed. "You didn't have to stay," she said softly. "I wanted to," Daniel replied. "You and your daughter shouldn't face this alone." She hesitated, then whispered, "My name is Anna." Daniel nodded. "You mentioned you lost your job. What kind of work did you do?" Anna's eyes lowered. "I used to clean offices. I actually worked for Carter Enterprises, your company." Daniel's breath caught. "My company? I remember that name," she continued nervously. "You came once to our floor. I was too shy to speak, but I always admired how confident you looked. I never imagined we'd meet like this." Silence filled the room. For the first time, Daniel didn't know what to say. The woman standing before him, fragile, kind, and exhausted, had once worked unnoticed in the shadows of his empire. "Why didn't you ask for help?" he finally asked. Anna smiled sadly. "People like me don't ask CEOs for help. We just keep cleaning until no one needs us anymore." Her words struck deeper than she could imagine. Daniel realized he had built a world so high above that he'd forgotten the people who kept it standing. He looked at Lily again, peaceful, innocent, and quietly vowed that neither of them would ever feel invisible again. A few days later, Lily was discharged from the hospital. Daniel personally drove Anna and her daughter back, but not to the shelter this time. He stopped in front of a small, cozy apartment complex on the city's quiet side. Anna looked around, confused. "Why are we here?" Daniel handed her a set of keys. "Because this is your new home," he said with a gentle smile. "The rent's covered for a year, and there's something else." He handed her an envelope. Anna hesitated before opening it. Inside was a job offer, full-time, with benefits, as an assistant in the CEO's office. Her lips trembled. I can't accept this. You've already done too much." Daniel shook his head. "You earned this, Anna. You worked hard when no one noticed. Now someone finally does." Tears welled in her eyes as Lily ran up and hugged his leg tightly. "Thank you, mister," she said with a bright smile. "Mommy says angels help people. Are you one?" Daniel knelt down, his throat tight. "No, sweetheart," he whispered. "But I think I just met two of them." The rain began again, soft and silver against the window, but this time, it felt different. It felt like a fresh start. As Daniel drove away, he glanced in the mirror, mother and daughter standing in the doorway, waving. For the first time in years, he didn't feel lonely. He finally understood that real wealth wasn't measured in money or power, but in kindness, and the lives you touch along the way.